Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Phenomenal Views. So, just want to get this out of the way right now. Maleficent is the mistress of evil. She's evil because she wants to be, because it's what she loves to do. She loved tormenting her minions for fun, and she got pissed because she didn't get invited to a baby christening. She could turn into a dragon. Yeah. I have no idea where that was in this film, but it certainly wasn't in this film. Yes, I'm here to talk about the reimagining of Maleficent. Now, there's probably a bunch of reviews on here. Jeremy Johns, he liked the film. Filmmaster Adam hated the film. I went and watched this film, and this is my own personal review. Now, before I get into anything, I'm just going to say, if this was original material, if we had never heard of Maleficent before, or Sleeping Beauty before, or Prince Philip before, or Stefan before, or his wife before, or the three fairies before, this would have been fine. It would have been an average, okay, you know, a woman gets upset because guy dumped her, took what she loved most. She becomes evil, and then she puts a curse on baby, and it would have been fine. The movie would have, the ending would have been fine. Villain becomes good guy again. Everything would have been fine. But when it comes to Maleficent, oh gosh, no. The only thing in this film that works perfectly is Angelina Jolie. She is perfect as Maleficent. She does best with what she has to work with, even though the character is written wrong. Terribly wrong. Angelina Jolie does her best, and it is shown. Angelina looks scary as Maleficent. She acts like Maleficent. She looks like Maleficent. She's freaking Maleficent! But in this film, she's not Maleficent! She tries, and she does her best. This is one of her best films by far. By far. When the movie ended, I applaud, and then got up and left. Okay, so the story of this film is Maleficent is a fairy. No. So, the film Maleficent is a fairy. And the movie's talking about how there's fairies everywhere, but one... It's talking about like how the humans and the fairies hated each other, and they'll be brought either together by a villain or a hero. And thus we're introduced to Maleficent as a little girl. Now, I like the actress as Maleficent as a little girl. You know, she's sweet and innocent. And once again, if this wasn't based on the very first Disney villain to swear in a Disney film who didn't call upon the powers of hell, this would have been fine. Would have been fine. So, she meets Stefan, and this is something that is never, ever explained. My friend George just texted me, and I asked him, I was like, okay, dude, you've seen this movie before, right? And he's like, yeah. Can you explain to me why metal hurts Maleficent? And, George, dude, you're awesome. Thank you for watching my videos. But people who wrote this movie, this makes no gosh darn sense. I mean, God, it makes no sense. She can't touch metal? Why? Explain! Elaborate! Help! So, he takes off his ring and he throws the ring in the woods, and then they go into about how he would come back eventually, and then he wouldn't come back, and Maleficent got older, And this was actually one of the things in this movie I liked, was Maleficent's wings. They look amazing. When Maleficent is flying with her wings, she looks amazing. She looks great. It looks awesome. The wings look awesome. So then we see Stefan, he says he's wanting to be king. So he eventually goes to the king. We actually don't see him for a while, and for some unexplained reason, the king before Stefan wants to take the forest. Here's a question. Why? Why do you want to take a forest? There's nothing in there except creatures and woods. That's it. There's no treasures. There's no nothing. Why would a king want woods? Is he all of a sudden just thinking, oh, you know what my kingdom needs? Lumberjacks. That's what my kingdom needs. Lumberjacks. It's never explained. So, Julianne Moore, who is awesome as Maleficent. I mean, Angelina Jolie. I am so sorry. Not Julianne Moore. Angelina Jolie, please forgive me. Angelina Jolie, who is Maleficent, comes out and she's like, turn back, whatever. So then she attacks him and she calls upon the forest creatures, whatever. She attacks the king. The king wants Maleficent dead. So he's like, I'm going to die soon. Someone bring me her head and they will be the next king. So Stefan is in there and he decides, hey, you know what? I'm gonna meet my former girlfriend, knock her unconscious, and you know what I was thinking when he was offering her a drink? I was like, he's not gonna drink it, is he? Nope. Okay, yep, this is exactly what I thought. You know what I was thinking when this was happening? Roofies! The date rape drug. That's what I was thinking when he was putting her asleep. It's like, okay, your boyfriend put something poisonous in your drink and you're asleep. Hangover joke. So instead of killing her, he doesn't want to kill her because I guess he still loves her or something. Instead, he cuts off her wings and gives them to the king. She wakes up, she's in pain, and she's pissed. This is when we see her actually become Maleficent, is after her wing decapitation. This is when she turns into the evil Maleficent. She turns a stick into her staff. She saves a crow. She saves the crow, and I forget what his name is. I can't remember. It starts with a D or something. Devante, I think his name is. But, like, she turns him into a man, a dog, the dragon. So, basically, she saves him, and when he's human, he's like, you saved my life, I will be with you for all of my days. Oh, gosh. So, then all of a sudden, she's like, I need you to be my wing. So, he goes to they show the crow going on and everywhere, reporting back to Maleficent and how Aurora is getting ready to be born. So, naturally, it's Maleficent time. And this was awesome. This was awesome. She walks in there. She looks like Maleficent. She has her attitude, her spiteness, her everything. She's Maleficent. She's like, all the fairies, oh good gosh, the fairies. I have never, ever wanted to put my headphones in my ears when watching a movie. Never have I ever wanted to do that. I even thought, maybe the film would be better if you could just erase these three and put the real fairies in there. They're annoying as all can be. No, they're not worse than Jar Jar Binks, but they're close. They're close to Jar Jar Binks. So they're talking about how they give Aurora the gift of basically everyone will like her and of beauty, and then Maleficent comes in and she's like, by the sunset on her 16th birthday, she will prick her finger and fall a death-like sleep. On par with the original. And then the king, or Stefan, is like, please don't do this, and then we get even more of awesome Angelina Jolie, as she's like, I like when you beg. Do it again. He begs. She doesn't lift the curse. So then the father is like, okay, here's what you do. You take her to your all's cabin, you keep her there until she's been 16 for the day after she turns 16. So that way the curse is avoided, yada yada yada. So the fairies try to raise Aurora. Aurora, call child services. They are horrible. The very first thing that they do, they leave her outside. This was my reaction in the movie theater. You left the baby outside? Okay, yeah, there you go. Then they come out, they're like, where were you hiding? Ugh. We see scenes of Aurora crying, and Maleficent, and her bird, and the fairies apparently don't know how to raise a child. Ugh. And Maleficent is even like, these three are gonna starve the brat to death. She doesn't say Brad, but she's like, they're gonna starve her to death. So she kind of somewhat raises Aurora, and this is not what Maleficent... It took Maleficent 16 years to find her! She had no idea where the fairies hid her, but in this film, the crow finds it. So she practically raises Aurora and saves her because her fairy godmothers are too busy arguing with each other to where the baby falls off a cliff. Yeah. Once again, call child services, fairy services, whatever. Just get these three away from the baby. So basically, a long time it talks about like how Aurora was always happy, saying everything's pretty, blah, 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 blah. So then she finally confronts Maleficent, and she's like, I know who you are. Do you? You're my fairy godmother. I'm sorry, what? Okay. Maleficent is not Sleeping Beauty's fairy godmother! She has 3 fairy godmothers! What was she going through? I mean, I know she's 16. This must have been what it was like in fairy tale times. Instead of a cell phone, or you're like, I'm tired of this cell phone. I'm gonna go get the newest one. Was it back like this? I have 3 fairy godmothers, but they're all annoying and they have endangered my life so many times. I'm gonna go find one in the dark woods. And probably befriend a villain. Goodbye. So, they develop a mother-daughter relationship, and all of a sudden, Maleficent wants to lift the curse. But she finds out she can't lift the curse. Yeah, okay. It's her own curse. How can she not lift it when it is from her own power? Even though she says the curse will never be lifted unless by true love's kiss. Oh, and I'll get to that in a minute. It's her own freaking curse. It's her own power. Piper from Charmed could freeze people. It was her own spell. She could unfreeze people. Why? Because 1, Charmed made sense, and number 2, it was her own power. No matter even if they said the spell can never be broken, if it's from the original source's power, it can be reversed. So, Maleficent's like, okay, we gotta find her true love's kiss or whatever, so she tells her, she's like, there's evil in this world, and you gotta do your best to stay away from that evil. So she's like, I wanna live... Sleeping Beauty is like, I wanna live with you in the forest, and she's like, okay, well, come back tomorrow, and you can live with me in the forest. So she's trying to figure out how to tell her fairy godparent, or her mothers, or for the lack thereof, how do I say this? And when she's resorting on ways to break the news to him, we meet Prince Philip, and he serves no purpose. He's a tool. That's all Prince Philip is in this film, is a tool. Prince Philip is nothing more than a tool in this film, because they don't even bring him in until the end of the film. In the original, he was there when she was born. That's how he knows her, because he was there when she was born. He was at the christening. Duh. I haven't watched Sleeping Beauty that much, but I still remember it. So basically, she's like, come back here and we'll meet and we'll talk some more. I've got to go see the king. Whatever. So she's gone off to tell the fairy godparent, or the mothers or the fairies, whatever. And Maleficent, the crow is like, this could be it to break the curse, the true love's kiss. And she's like, true love doesn't exist. And the bird's like, well, maybe not to you, but it does to me. So then she basically goes and tells the godparents, and they're like, they tell her the truth. And she's not happy, but so she's like, my grandmother, my mother's told me about Maleficent and that I'm under a curse, and then she finds out that her fairy godmother was Maleficent. So then she runs back home, and by the way, the father in this film, Stefan, goes from lovable kid, douchebag, paranoid, nuts, all in one circle. Now, you can argue that, well, you know, people do this all the time. Yeah, but here's the reason. It worked in The Prince of Egypt because his brother, Ramesses, who hadn't seen Moses in years, when he finally sees him, he's like, things are going to be back to normal. But when Moses tells him, I'm here to basically be your enemy, not your brother anymore, he goes from regret, sorrow, anger, and vengeance. But that is because it's necessary and it fits. There is no explanation for this. There's no reason from why he becomes a douche. You can say it's a corrupt power, but there's no explanation for how he's corrupt with power. There's nothing. They just throw him in this stage from lovable kid, douchebag, betrayer, paranoid, psycho. So then she goes to the castle, and the dad's like, you idiots, we're supposed to make sure she stays there. Yeah, trust me, dude, I'm not surprised. I'm not too happy with them either. Trust me, they were horrible. And so then he's like, you guys brought her back too early, take her up to her chamber. She gets out because she knocks on the door and the maid opens it, and then Maleficent can tell that the curse is getting ready to come. So she gets on the horse because the bird can turn into a horse. He can turn into whatever she says. So they go to the castle and the race is on to basically try to stop Aurora from plucking her finger on the spinning wheel. Here's a question. Why does she care? Maleficent isn't supposed to care. She put this curse on them on her for a reason. It wasn't for vengeance, it was for fun, for spite. That's who Maleficent is. She plucks her finger, then she falls asleep, or she's dead or whatever, and the fairies, who are annoying, still annoying as can be, they find Prince Philip because Maleficent finds him and drags him to the castle. Then they say true love's kiss, and they're like, do you want to kiss her? Very much. But we haven't known each other very long. And I was sitting there in the theater, I was like, will you just freaking kiss her already? So he kisses her, and this was when I was like, say what now? Because it's not Prince Philip who wakes her up. Ugh. Unsweetened tea. Thank you, Lord Jesus, from the bottom of my heart for inventing unsweetened tea. True love's kiss comes from Maleficent! This concludes part 1. We'll be back with part 2.